Naturally, you would start with a square piece, round it off. I always turn a tenon right away. Lots of times I'll do 2 or 3 pieces and one chunk of wood. Turn a tenon so that I don't have to, it just saves a little bit of time at the beginning process. This happens to be a piece of spalted maple. I could have a little bit of trouble today. I'm used to my left-handed lathe, but we'll do the best we can. I do as much turning as I can with the tailstock in, just for security reasons. When I get down to the point where I got to get rid of, I get rid of it. But it just gives you a little bit more security when you're starting. First thing we're going to do on this one is we're going to make a globe. With this one, I have enough length that I'll probably make the top finial in one piece. Sometimes I will turn a separate finial for the top and a separate finial for the bottom. But this one I got enough length. If the wood looks good when I get in there, I'll turn the top as part of it. I don't want the top to get too skinny because I need the strength there. So we're just about done as much as we can do with the tailstock in place. We took a chunk out of it, so we got to make it a little bit smaller. Now I want to leave a little bit of a flat on the bottom, or as flat as I can, so that I've got a base or for support for the bottom finial. We're going to call that part good. Okay, I'm going to drill a 3/8 inch hole down the middle of it. And I've got a scale on my tailstock so I can tell how far I've gone in. And because I'm going to leave the top in, I'm going to go in about 1 1/8 inches. Okay, now I've got my starter hole. These are tools that I made. Number one, my brother's a mechanic and he has all sorts of Allen wrenches laying around. Number two, I haven't been able to find a place to buy them. And number three, my wife is Dutch and therefore I've become a little more frugal. Plus they fit. And it makes my hole that much smaller, which the smaller the hole, the more opportunities I have with my finial and how I'm going to mount it. So this starts the white knuckle part of the job. You don't want to take a lot at one time. You can't take a lot at one time. Okay, I'm rapidly coming to the point where I've got more sawdust in there than I want. I don't have compressed air here to blow it out, so I'm going to cheat and go to a different globe. But what I use to determine the depth of my walls or the thickness of my walls is a real high-end, frugal depth gauge. And what I'll do is I'll bend it, I'm going to bend it to a 1/2 inch. This is high-tech coat hanger wire. And I'll stick it in there, and I'll measure the difference. I've got an 1/8 inch there, which means my thickness at this point is 3/8 of an inch. Okay? What I ultimately am looking for is about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. It takes time to do that. Number one, you don't want too many chips in there, it clogs up, grabs your tool, and then you get to redesign or start all over. So it's a slow process. At home, I've made basically a miniature captured tool or Jameson jig with a laser light on it, and using another one of these high-end lathe tools, and that has cut my time down immensely. But it's still slow going. You still have to clear the chips out, but it does speed up the process for you. You're going to close your eyes for just a few seconds, and we're going to put a magical one on here. This is my globe. This has been obviously I've done this before, but this is what I want to end up with. If I were to finish that one on here, I would turn a top finial right before I cut it off. When I started doing these, I didn't like the proportions of the brass screws that you could get to screw on the top of Ornament. So what I did is I bought some brass wire, made an eye in it, twisted it around, and put a little barb at the end, drilled a hole in the top, and inserted my own little brass eye in the top. This one, for instance, and it's just a little finer than the eyes that you can typically buy. As time went on, I came up with a different way, and what I started doing was using monofilament line. You don't need 30 or 40 or 50 pound test, but the bigger it is, the more forgiveness it is on the size of the hole that you drill. You get a bigger knot and it's not going to pull through. So if I'm making a top like this with or an ornament like this with a finial on top, before I glue the bottom on, I've got to drill a hole through the top, tie a knot, and have my string affixed, because once the top is glued and it's enclosed, it's pretty hard to tie a knot, push it down a hole, and expect it to stay. Okay? It's one of these physical things, or science things. I don't know. I like to use different contrasting woods, and so here I've got some cherry. If I had some exotics, I like to get something as red as I can, because it's more Christmassy. So we're going to start and make this round, make a way that we can hold it in the chuck, and then we'll proceed to turn a finial. Okay, now I use a caliper to figure out how big my hole is, and then how big of a tenon I need to make on this to fit in that hole. And I'm not going to go all the way down to that size just yet, because I need to get some more wood off of there. But now I've got to get an idea in my head of what I'm going to make it look like. I never draw anything out where people can see it, because I don't want them to see what I started at and what it ended up at, okay? But you got it where it's going to join the body. You've got to make it so that it looks relatively seamless, or like it was made to be there. You don't want a 3/4 inch bottom of a globe and a 1/2 inch bottom of or top of the finial. I'm measuring how wide my flat spot is, so that I know how big or small to make my flat spot here. Probably close enough for government work. And I'm going to try to concave that a little bit. I just changed my design. Early on, I developed an aversion to sanding. Some of you may have not have gotten to that point yet. So I decided if I wasn't going to sand, I better learn how to make shear cuts so that I didn't spend time sanding. And the other issue with sanding, if you've got detail like I'm trying to do here, it's hard to sand without removing the detail. No, it's a 3/8 gouge with very shallow grounding. I do use a skew in this quite often. I have a disclaimer now. I normally wouldn't be moving this fast, but I normally don't have a clock breathing down my neck either, so. If you want more dialogue, you have to ask me afterwards. I can't multitask when I'm doing this. When I glue them, I put the glue on the globe and not on the finial so you don't get glue squeeze out. And with what I got left, I would turn the top for it, drill a hole through it, tie a knot on the end of some monofilament line, and we would be done. No. I haven't had one pull out yet. There's not a lot of weight on there. I read somewhere that A&W likes ornaments to be under 2.5 ounces, and I weighed some of these last year and they were 0.6, so I think I'm okay. I use 30 or 40 weight monofilament just because it's a little thicker in diameter, and then I don't tie an overhead knot, I tie a figure-8 knot because that gives you a bigger knot to hold. I usually finish with lacquer. I don't use the bottle paint or the cans. I have a air brush, and I put probably 3 or 4 coats on, stand between the last couple coats, and that gives about as good a finish as I've been able to get with it. These are time consuming, they take time, but the people that get them for the most part appreciate them, and I've never been able to make enough ahead from family members to try to sell them. But someday, when I retire and have times on my hand, we probably will. So that's it in a nutshell.
This video was made possible by a grant from the Future Girl Foundation.
This video was made possible by thousands of private donations from members and viewers like you. Please visit thegeekgroup.org for more information on how you can donate and become a part of our dreams of Avalon.